Procedures and protocol. When you're on our trips, students see S-Trip staff as a fountain of information. So it's very important that you do your research and you know what's going on. You read these manuals and you check out the destination. This section that we're going to go through right now pretty much outlines all the procedures and protocols for every destination, for every trip, so that you guys have a good understanding of what to do and how to tackle different situations. Research your destination. Go through your binder. Google the destination. Watch the pre-trip video. Check your bus package and make sure everything that you have before you leave is ready to go. Media or phone calls. It's very important to call your trip organizer and have a chat with them. Introduce yourself. Let them know that you're really excited to be traveling with them and that if they need anything or have any questions, you're here to help. Review your itinerary with them and explain the travel day procedures. Give any last-minute updates and answer any of their concerns.
Okay, so we're going to cover the communication chapter, which is very important when you're on a trip. In case of an emergency, trip leaders should always contact their hotel coordinators. Hotel coordinators will always be on site with you and they are your main point of contact. We will go through the flow chart to explain to you the procedures. So as you see here, you are a trip leader. As we covered earlier, the main point of contact is your hotel coordinators. If the emergency is greater and he needs further support, the hotel coordinator will then contact the program director. A program director will always be on site as well to support the emergency or the crisis situation. And from there, depending on the case, the situation, and the condition of the passenger, from there we will contact, program director will always contact S-Trip head office with experienced staff working around the clock to support the trips. Avoid contacting several individuals during the emergency situation, because that will create circular communication, and that is not what you want to do. Contact always your hotel coordinator, and they'll give you support and advise you on what to do next. In the event of a crisis emergency that's quite outstanding, the program director will always notify S-Trip head office. One person will always relay the emergency situation to head office, and then from there, S-Trip head office staff will relay the information back to the program director and give them the right support and resolution to continue on with the situation. It is important that when the trip leader has given proper feedback from hotel coordinator, program director, or S-Trip head office to deliver the information back to the students. Be always clear, concise, and detailed about the situation. Stay calm and remain confident that all situations will be resolved properly. Important information to know, trip leaders, and that would be you, cannot contact parents or guardians. It is the responsibility of hotel coordinators or higher above the hierarchy to contact parents or guardians. You only remain the main point of contact with the passenger at all times. And when you are asked to take care of the situation, always remember to think about the passenger and how they can enjoy their trip. Hope that helps.
Okay, so on destination, things inevitably will go wrong from time to time. So you want to follow some of these directions that we'll discuss here and always remain calm at all times throughout the situation and make sure that your students know that you've got it under control, and from there, talk to your trip leader, talk to your hotel coordinator, and move on from there. So when dealing with emergencies, whether it be medical, weather, hotel, whatever it may be, the main thing is always exude confidence and composure to your students. So with insurance, we have RBC medical insurance included for the high school students, and it's an optional add-on for the university students. So in case of medical emergencies, we know that we've got RBC in our back pocket that we can then go to the clinic or wherever it may be, and we have them that we can deal with. So in case of a medical emergency, seek medical assistance right away. There's usually a clinic on site. You can go and contact the doctor, get them to come and see the student immediately. That should be your first point of action. From there, create an incident report for your hotel coordinator. From there, follow their instructions. They're trained, they're experienced in these kind of matters, so make sure you speak to them and get the next steps from there. Okay, S-Trip tip number 6. When waiting at the hotel for departure, go over your medical emergency procedures. The first thing you always want to do is get a medical professional involved. So from there, you'll go and speak to your senior S-Trip staff, the hotel coordinator, or the trip director, and get their advice on what to do next. So one of the situations you may encounter, you may get intoxicated students. So in this situation, always remain calm, friendly, funny, and make sure you bring that student out of the situation that they're in. Try and get them some water, try and get them to be involved in a sports game. Try and just take them away from whatever the kind of party is, and make sure you kind of isolate them and ensure that they don't consume any more alcohol for a duration of a few hours or maybe the whole rest of the day. So in those situations, you want to always be the good guy or a good girl, whatever it is, and kind of be their friend and just say, hey, I think you've had too much, let's take a step back, let's do something different. There's so much to experience on grad trip beyond just hanging out at the bar, let's take part in some of that. So another thing that you guys can do is talk to the bartenders too and say, hey, this student I feel may or may not have consumed too much, make sure you cut him off, don't give him any more. And that's just a good way to make sure the party still goes for all the students that want to be a part of it and no one gets too out of hand. So in these situations too, report the incident to your hotel coordinator and also then fill out an incident report on the student, their room number, and make sure that they're taken care of and followed up with from there. So S-Trip tip number 7, your objective is to get them to take a break. This is very common sense and very simple. So for these students, make sure, like I said, play the friendly role, bring them aside, and separate them from the situation they're currently in. Okay, another situation that you may encounter on destination is fights among students. As a trip leader, make sure that you never physically involve yourself in a fight. We want to protect your safety and avoid you from dangerous situations. Always get hotel security or police involved when you see this happening. This is very important to keep in mind. Never put yourself in a situation where you and your personal safety might be endangered. So always in those situations too, when fights may occur, notify your hotel coordinator and fill out an incident report to follow up on that. Suicidal students. This is a rare case, but it's very, very serious. We want you to make sure that you contact a senior S-Trip staff, one of the hotel coordinators or the program director, as soon as you have any fear that a student may or may not be suicidal. Quiet or shy students. When you go down and you're involved in your briefing, you can usually pick out who the quiet and who the shy students are. You want to make sure that you give them the time, that you go and engage with them, you meet them, you talk to them, you find out about their interests, see if they're having a good time, check in on them, and make sure that you can do anything you can as a trip leader to help these guys have the best time possible. Sometimes all you need to do is just have a chat with them, get them involved in a game, a sport, an activity, a contest, whatever it may be, that you can break them out of their shell and help them engage in the grad trip that they want to be on. So even during meal times, do a quick scan of the table, see who's eating alone, see who's got their head down or might not be talking, to a big group of people, and just go, and part of your job is to just be that friendly person who steps up and engages them. Okay, male-female interactions. Always avoid having one-on-one contact with a student. People can make assumptions, people can think one thing when it's not necessarily the truth. So any situation that you have, always try and have another staff member, preferably of the opposite sex, there with you on hand. If you have to enter a student's room, make sure that the door is open and you have another staff member there to deal with whatever situation you may have to deal with. Hotel staff. Okay, so always treat the hotel staff with respect. We are their guests no matter where we are. We want to make sure that we're friendly, gracious, courteous, and always show appreciation for what they're doing for our groups. Never talk down to the hotel staff. We're working there the same way that they're working, and we want them to treat us with the same respect that they deserve. So always treat them that way. Locals. The same thing goes for locals. It's common sense. Always treat them with respect. We're guests in their location, and we're giving back to their community, and they're inviting us in. So always treat them with respect. Never talk down to them, and usually you can have a pretty good relationship as long as there's mutual respect. If there's ever a situation where you feel like you need to contact local police or intervene in these situations, do so immediately, or visit with your hotel staff or your senior S-Trip staff.
Airport procedures. What you're going to do is you're going to arrive at the airport 4 hours before your flight. This is very important because we want to make sure you're the first one there. You're in uniform and you're ready to go. Familiarize yourself with the airport. The arrival gate, the departure, the check-in counter, the security gate. We want you to know everything so that when students arrive, they know where to go and you're very visible. For some airports in some departing cities, there's going to be an airport coordinator. For the smaller cities, you may have to go on your own. For the bigger cities, there will be an airport coordinator who will be there to help you out. But basically, this is really easy stuff. All you have to do is make yourself visible, make yourself aware. Meet the check-in counter, explain to them that you're the S-Trip tour leader, and you're going to be helping them out. It's very important that you do not check your bags until you've heard from the S-Trip office whether or not there'll be more supplies coming down with you. Airport meet and greet. It's now time to meet the parents and to meet the students. This is a very important part of the trip because the parents are coming to drop their students off and send them off with you. We really want you to make sure that you greet the parents warmly, you answer any of their questions. Direct the students to the check-in gate, check-in counter, and make sure that they do all their checking in, they hand in their bags. They don't need to wait for their friends. It's very important that once they've checked their bags, they go immediately to the security gate and go through. You will meet them on the other side in the departure area. Call any latecomers. Make sure that you're aware of anyone who is not showing up. You can give them until an hour before and you have to go in. If there's anyone running late, it's important to call them. If you can't get through them, well, you can give them up to an hour before departure. At this time, you have to go through the gate. You have to leave them behind. At the departure gate, this is a very important time for us because we want to make sure that other guests and other people traveling see that we're acting in a professional manner. So it's important to relay this information to your students. Do not be loud, do not be disrespectful, do not get rowdy in the departure area. And also, if they want to go get some food or snacks, tell them they have to be back 40 minutes before the flight leaves. Once you're on the plane, it's really important that the students understand that they can't be acting out, they can't be loud, they can't be disrespectful. Flight safety is a very strict thing and it's taken very serious by the airlines. So the students need to understand that they have to act very responsible and they have to be respectful to other people flying. Once the flight is going, about halfway through the flight, do a walkthrough, tell everybody what's up, see what's going on, say hi to everybody, make sure they're all having a good flight, return to your seat. Arrival at your destination. You're here. We're all really excited. This is pretty sweet. You're now in this amazing tropical climate. It's really important to turn on your phone right away so that if any messages need to come through to you, they'll get through right away. What you're going to do now is you're going to get everybody off the plane and take everyone to customs. Have everyone go through customs, but make sure they know that when they get to the other side, to wait for you at the baggage area. You are the last person to go through customs no matter what. Make sure all your students go through first, then you go through customs. Once you get to the other side, you're going to be at the baggage area. Make sure everyone gets their bags, and as a group, head out through the exit. When you get through the exit on the other side, there will be S-Trip staff waiting for you to guide you to the buses. Transfer and unloading. Now you're here, you're outside. The S-Trip staff and the tour operator staff are here to help you. They're going to guide you to the buses. What you're going to do is you're going to take all your students to the bus, you're going to load the bags on the baggage lane, and then you're going to get everybody on your bus. Once on the bus, we're going to tell the students how long the trip's going to take and what they're going to expect once we get there. How it's going to work is, once you arrive at the hotel, you're going to wait. No students are going to get off the bus until a hotel coordinator comes on and tells you where we're going. How it works is once we arrive at the hotel, we're going to do a briefing speech. So all the students are going to leave their bags in the front, and they're going to go to the briefing speech, and they're going to hear all the information about the trip. They're going to get the bracelets, and they're going to receive everything they need to have an amazing week.
Ski trip and bus procedures. This section of the video is provided to staff who are traveling on any ski or bus away destination programs with S-Trip. Prior to passenger arrival, once you arrive at your bus stop, it is important that each staff member arrives at the bus stop an hour and a half before departure. Once arriving at your bus location, please designate a loading area and look out for the bus driver and put up any signages that you may have that you need to be put in your bus. When your bus arrives, it's important to make sure you get your bus driver's cell phone number. Do a full inspection of the bus, everything from the washrooms to the overhead bins, and also ensure that the mic and the DVD players are properly working. Once your passengers arrive at your bus stop, these are certain boarding procedures that each staff member needs to follow. Greet each of the students. Once the students do arrive, it's important to make sure that we check off all their IDs prior to when they get on the bus. On top of that too, make sure you also greet parents and answer any questions or concerns that they may have. Check any carry-ons that the students may be bringing on the bus. Advise that alcohol or illegal substances are not permitted on the bus whatsoever. Make sure each of the students loads their luggage into the luggage base and doesn't leave them for the bus driver to chuck them onto the bus themselves. Use your passenger list to do a full head count of each of the passengers on the bus. Prior to your departure on the bus, give a 10 or 15 minute grace period for any passengers that are late and call them to see where they are. Again, it's important to make sure that you contact your bus coordinator before you leave your departure location to ensure that you're able to leave from your stop. En route procedures. Once you're boarding the bus and you've been given the okay from your bus coordinator to leave, It's important to make sure that you explain the en route itinerary to each of your passengers, go through the codes of conduct, and also introduce yourself. Remember, it's the morning time, students don't want to listen to you talking all that much because they are going to be extremely tired, so try to do this in about a 15 or 20 minute span. After that, pop in a DVD and enjoy the ride. Rest stops. 10 minutes before arriving at your rest stop, it's really important to advise your passengers and remind them that they need to obtain their damage deposits money prior to boarding the bus back before you leave for your destination. Make sure the luggage bays remain closed. Students are not allowed to obtain their luggages in the luggage bay, and you are always supposed to be the last one off the bus. Make sure you contact your bus coordinator. This is extremely important at each of the rest stops that you contact your extra bus coordinator, so this way they know to tell you how long to break, so this way they can stagger the buses upon your departure. Damage deposit collection. Upon returning to the bus, once you board the bus, all the students should have their damage deposit money ready. Collect each of the damage deposits. Make sure the students, it is extremely important that they initial off on each of the damage deposits on your passenger list, saying that they have given you one. Alright? Once you've collected all the damage deposits, it's important to store the money inside the envelopes that are provided to you and label them with your bus number and a certain type of money. So for example, if it's a damage deposit, write down damage deposit. If it's insurance policy, write down that's the damage insurance policy. Arriving and unloading procedures. Prior to arrival at your destination, about 20 or 30 minutes before, it's really important to make sure you contact your bus coordinator once again, so that this way at the hotel they are prepared and ready for your bus to have it checked in. Advise all the students that you are arriving at your location. It is imperative that they remain on the bus and they do not leave the bus until your hotel coordinator or program director boards your bus to conduct the destination staff briefing. Once the buses do arrive, it's important that one of the trip leaders leaves the bus while the other one stays on the bus, and the one that leaves the bus is to bring their damage deposits and all of their money to the hotel coordinator who is in charge of all the accounting on the trip.
Briefing session. These are different for each trip, whether it's a flight trip or a bus trip. On a flight trip, how it works is once you arrive at the hotel, you're going to hold your students on the bus. Program director or hotel coordinator is going to come out and lead the students off the bus into a briefing room, which is either a conference room or the staged area. How it works is it's about a 20-minute briefing session outlining the program, outlining the hotel, outlining the rules, regulations, and what's expected of the students, and basically hyping them on what an amazing week they're going to have with S-Trip. For bus trips, how it works is when you arrive at your hotel, because some of these hotels for bus trips don't have the space for a briefing room, what we do is we do these briefings on the bus. So when you arrive on your bus trip to your hotel, you're going to hold the students on the bus. A hotel coordinator or program director is going to come on and give about a 20-minute briefing speech. At that point, they'll get the room keys and they'll be able to go.
During the trip, while on destination, it is important for all staff to be communicating with not only their team and their hotel coordinators, but also passengers, especially the organizers, to ensure that they're having a great time. Staff schedule is something that we take very importantly here. Every single day, approximately 2 to 3 times, you'll be meeting with your hotel team in a meeting led by your hotel coordinator to go over the duties and responsibilities for you at the next event or activity. It's important that you attend these meetings and you're on time for these meetings to ensure that we execute properly to ensure the best student experience. Roaming. Whether you're at the hotel during an event or whether you're on location at an activity or whether it's after an event at nighttime, roaming is a very important role for us because it shows students that we're always going to be available. Roaming does not mean that you're sitting in the lobby or that you're hanging out in the corner on your cell phone at an event. It means that you're engaging students and you're making your presence known, so if there's a situation, a problem, you're always there to communicate to and at arm's length. Excursion staff. While on destination, you will be expected to participate in different excursions, whether it be a catamaran in a southern destination or tubing in one of our snow destinations. You will be responsible for a small group of students that you'll be traveling with to the excursion. It's important to always take a head count, keep an eye on them while at the excursion, and to make sure that everyone returns to the hotel safely. Activity animation staff. The responsibility of activity or animation staff will be to hype students up and get them involved in the daytime activities at the hotel or off-site. It's important that all students are participating in order to ensure that their extra experience is as best as possibly can be. Night event staff. As you know, we do have legendary parties, night event staff. As you know, our extra parties have been known to be legendary. As a result, we do put a lot of pride into the setup and execution of these events. It's important to know your responsibility and to take direction from your hotel and program director in order to execute properly on site. Whether it be getting students from the hotel to a bus to the event, or whether it be at the event before the students arrive, setting up flags, swag, and other materials, or getting students safely from the event back to the hotel. It's also very crucial to know that while you're at the event, to keep an eye on students who perhaps are drinking excessively or to avoid any confrontation.
Okay, flight trip sign-ins. There will be a sign-in binder at the info desk. Students are required to sign in 3 times a day as designated by their program director. If a student misses a sign-in, it's the trip leader's responsibility to find that student, go to the room, and bring them to the info desk to sign in. Sign-in times are one of the best times to relay information. You can talk about a student who needs to call home. Sign-in times are one of the best times to relay information. You can talk to a student if they need to call home to their parents. You can talk about the event or the party that's going on that night, and just generally hand out info that students may or may not have forgotten from their initial check-in. Sign-ins are crucial to making sure we know where the students are at any given time while on destination. Okay, S-Trip tip number 5. Sign-in and room checks are the perfect opportunity to touch base with your trip organizers and get feedback regarding the trip. Treat them well and tell them to keep their group excited for that day's activities and the nighttime event.
Checkout and returning home procedures. Checkout and returning home procedures are the same for all destinations, whether it's a flight trip or whether it's a bus trip. Checkout procedures can be extremely smooth and run properly, or they can be extremely hectic and chaotic. To avoid chaos, it is important to make sure that each staff member understands proper checkout procedures and that this information is delivered to each of your students. Pre-checkout. This is supposed to be done the night before upon your room checks to all the rooms. It is important to make sure that the rooms are fully inspected for any damages or anything that is altered in the room. If there are damages, it is important to make sure that the students report damages to the front desk, and any damages are to be paid the night before your pre-checkout. Take any garbage bags with you as well. If there are any garbage in the room, if there are any cans or bottles that are left in the room, it is advised that the students clean up the room mess, for the maids are not their servants and they will not clean up each of those messes. Also, it's important to make sure we remind the students of the following day checkout procedures. Upon checking out, it is important to make sure that the students are up 2 hours prior to their checkout procedures. Make sure that each of their bags are packed. Once they are up and about, it's important to make sure that every student is evacuated out of the room an hour before their actual checkout. Once this happens, program directors or hotel coordinators will do a full inspection at each of the rooms with hotel management to make sure that all damages are essentially paid up for. Return all damage deposits to each of the students who have paid the $60 refundable damage deposit. And upon that, it's important to make sure that you do a head count on your bus before leaving for the airport or before leaving home on any ski trip or bus trip destinations. En route to the airport, it's important to make sure that we thank each of the students for traveling with S-Trip and to advise them of how long the bus ride is to the actual airport. Ensure that each of them has their passport and any proper documentation that they do need prior to departure, and that they do have money if they do need to pay for it at departure sales tax. For flight trips, upon arrival home, once you arrive back in your home city, it is important to make sure that we do a proper head count of each of the passengers prior to leaving the plane. Once you leave the plane, it's important to make sure that we escort each of the students through customs and that you are the last person to go through customs to make sure that each of your students gets through it properly. Once they're through customs, direct each of the students towards their baggage claim. Ensure that each of the students has their bags. If a student is missing their bag, it's important to make sure that we assist that student, we help them out with whatever they need. Upon the students getting their bags and greeting each of their parents upon their arrival, it's important to make sure that we hang around until all of the students have been picked up by each of their parents. Be professional, answer any questions that the parents may have, and make sure you say goodbye, and like I said, thank them for traveling with S-Trip. For ski trip and bus away arrival destinations, it's important to make sure that each bus destination, for ski and bus away trip destinations, upon arrival of returning home to your bus destination, some buses will encounter and have multiple stops along the way. It is important that students only getting off that stop and returning home are to get off there. The ones that are not getting off that stop, it's important to make sure that they stay on the bus. Again, do a proper head count to make sure that each of the passengers are on the bus prior to your departure, and it's important to obviously keep a professional outlook, especially when talking to parents and answering any questions that they may have.
After the trip, what you can expect from S-Trip. What we will do after the trip is we'll give you performance ratings detailing the pros and cons of your performance. We'll give you a referral letter, we can update you on future staffing, and most importantly, and the best part, we're going to have a wicked party for you guys to reward you for an awesome job done. What you can expect from staffing. opening the eyes of students to experiences, cultures, and customs, expanding and using your communication skills, gaining crucial crisis control skills, learning how to deal with groups and manipulating them to do what you want, opportunity to work with S-Trip in the future at one of our many destinations.
What's next? Well, the good news is that you're almost there. Now that you've read the destination training manual and watched the video, you have all the information and resources you need to be a successful and fun animated trip leader. You now should have an understanding of the history of S-Trip, the products, communication hierarchy, procedures, protocol, and overall, what is your responsibility on this trip. Read this manual and watch the video regularly. It's always a good way to refresh your memory. Good thing I would do, and I encourage you to do, is to watch this video and read the manual every time you go on a trip. Just a quick refresher so that you're all on the same page. Remember, to become a certified trip leader, you must complete the online test, as well as successfully complete the in-house training that will prepare you to handle emergency situations. During all these process, online tests, as well as the in-house training, you will be rated based on your performance, participation, and also how you resolve the situation. Throughout the entire process, from recruitment from day 1 to now, your evaluation is always important to us. And that is the only way we will secure to hire great trip leaders like yourself. So we look forward to working with you, and have a safe trip.